And he says, Dad, you got to do this.
Come on in, Justin.
Hey, look who's here.
So this is
Look who's
perfect,
here.
perfect.
Justin.
So what we're
How are
gonna
you?
what we're
I
gonna
saw
do,
your truck. I'm like, oh, Jeff's still here.
I'm still here.
and the intention here, Justin, isn't it fun how this is
This
so
is
we are
perfect.
now at your son
Spencer. Yep.
Spencer has just completed Summit, right? And because prior, I'm going to say what I'm getting, he's not happy with you at the moment. He's giving you things. How come you didn't have those experiences? I want to see my mom. You got to see this. You did it.
Yeah.
Then goes through Quest,
Yep.
and then goes through Summit. Now, at that moment, you're seeing something in your son. You're saying, oh, right when you walked in, the words were, what did they do to my son? Right?
What did they do to him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why-
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, we're gonna wrap this up, and we're gonna spend a little bit of time, and then he's gonna take over where you're about to leave off in reference to what impact is. And so,
Perfect.
he then says, "Dad, you trust."
said-
Oh,
yeah.
did he say the, "Dad, you gotta trust me" thing?
He just, I mean, here's the cool thing, is he never held me as, oh, I know more than you, or, oh, I am,
Yeah.
I've got all the answers. It was pure love. Dad, I want you to do this.
Yeah.
This is shifting my life. It's shifting my consciousness. And I want to share that with you. We were very close.
Yeah.
I mean, he was angry about things, but he wasn't angry at me.
Yeah.
He just wasn't
Happy.
experiencing life the way he wanted to experience
Yeah.
life, and now suddenly he is. So he's like, Dad, I want you to do this. Now, cold turkey. I just walk in. I'm just like, okay, sign me up. I'm going to impact trainings, and I walk in, and immediately, I thought, wow.
Who staffs your Quest?
Who staffed it?
Yeah.
I don't know. That was staff members.
I mean,
know-
I'm sorry. Who facilitated your?
Justin was the trainer.
Okay, so I'm going to call I'm going to call an audible. If
Okay.
do you have time?
I have time.
Okay,
I
so
have
I'm going to Sarah, I'm going to call an audible.
I know what that is now. You educated me on that. Thank you.
Okay, Justin, this is Sarah, my co-host.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
Sarah, this is Justin,
Nice
my
to meet you.
friend.
Nice to meet you.
So the audible is this, and for all you people that are watching, what we were going to do, what I had, was to have you on, do what you have just done, and then have him come over and, well, take over. But what I'd like to invite you to do now is not leave.
Okay.
And let's just merge these two, because there's so many correlations and so many. We're going to have to do a part 2 on this. But what we are doing, Justin, the Beacon of Light podcast is designed to share with people the opportunities that they have of making different choices other than their alcohol and or their drugs. Now, in my world, owning Beacon Recovery, we do this by doing therapy, neurofeedback, ketamine, hypnotherapy, breath work, amino acids, group, peer support, case management, and all of these things are effective. Surely they are. But it's my position that there's something that is just as, if not more effective, to assisting these individuals to get back to the light, which they once had. Now, I was raised LDS, went to church with regularity, right? Did the temple, all that. And I'm not knocking any of that for those folks. But what I'm going to say to you and everybody that can hear me is that there has been nothing in my life that has made the impact, no pun intended, right?
Are you sure?
No, impact has been more impactful for my growth, my happiness, my self-awareness, my everything, right? Brought me closer to God by leaps and bounds because of the teachings that you, sir, are involved with. Now, I'm just going to say something. I recently, so Impact is Quest, Summit, and Liftoff, and then we obviously go on to Life Mastery. We can talk about that in a minute, but I'm in Impact. I'm staffing a quest. And it's ironic in a beautiful way that both of the times that I've staffed, you were facilitating. And it's beyond magical to watch what happens when these people get it. Now, you made the comment, and I have to tell you that when you were talking, I was like, Justin, please be done so I can go home and go to sleep.
Yeah, the days are a little long at times, but
When we're
it's
staffing,
the nature of it.
it
part
is.
of
And
your
when we're
training.
staffing, and I
Yeah.
thought, oh, he's not even going to show, right? Because you were doing something other, and then you walked in. But you said to us, I am just as in awe as you are at these things, right?
Oh yeah,
These things are just as much of a surprise to me as they are to you when they're happening.
That happens every single time
Yeah.
because it's such an incredible process, and you say it's when things happen, when these moments happen for these people. It's the moments that you're talking about that happen when we can call it a miracle. You can there's so many different things
Well,
that
you
can be
use the
called
word
to it.
pop.
Well, yeah, it's a pop. It's a pop.
Okay, so I want to back up for a sec. What Justin does at Impact Training is and you got to make sure that I don't say something I'm not supposed to say.
Oh, I'll jump in and let you know.
So what Justin does, so Impact starts with something known as Quest. Now there's other things we can do. We can go to a presentation on Wednesday night where you can get an idea, but the real of it is Quest. That's the first thing, and are you ready to start your training? I heard that, must have said that a million times. But at Quest, that's what we'll call, for lack of better terms, phase 1 of your training, whoever you are. Phase 2 is known as Summit. Phase 3 is known as Liftoff. And then if you choose, you can continue your education by going through what's known as LMT, Life Mastery. Now, in the Life Mastery piece, it never ends. You always are honing your life mastery skills. What Justin does is orchestrates. He is facilitating phase 1 of someone's training, which in my opinion, Justin, I'm not going to say it's most important, but it's very crucial that they get a block of knowledge, of truth about who they are. They recognize who they are they know they're showed, or they show us who they are in Summit, but in Quest, I think it's vital, and I went through. By the way, do you know you staffed when I did Quest back in 2017? You were my facilitator.
Yeah.
And
I've been doing it over 30 years now. I've been training with Impact Trainings for over 30 years. So it's been quite a journey.
And you know what I enjoyed? That I staffed with you. We witnessed something that I thought this has to happen all the time. When I witnessed what I witnessed, I thought this must happen with regularity, because obviously this is how people come in with regularity, this way. I know you know what I'm talking about. And
I would say that as people enter into the training, they're coming in, and again, we have them from all walks of life.
all over the world.
From all over the world. We've got people that are from, oh my gosh, just quite honestly homeless, to all the way up to someone that's, would be considered your elitist in the world.
Company owners.
Company owners. We've had individuals that are leaders in the Pentagon. Quite honestly, that happened years ago, and that one was pretty incredible, because leading official in the Pentagon, and by going through the trainings, once he was complete, he went back to Washington, D.C., and then completely rewrote the entire training module that they were using for those incoming into the military, based on what he had experienced in the training. And I say experienced in the training this is the thing that to me makes the training so incredible. And and you said the word earlier, Tony, that's very applicable. Being a witness. I'm just a witness of what happens. Because those that go into the training, the magic or the pop or the miracle or
The
whatever,
aha.
that aha moment,
Yeah.
that moment of enlightenment, when all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, this is it.
So easy.
Okay?
Yeah.
When that and again, whoever's listening, you'll know we've all had those moments. I mean, it's not like it's reserved or just only for a select few. It's for everyone. And that to me is very significant, that it's for everyone, meaning that no matter who that person is, no matter where they've been, no matter what they've done, that is already within them.
And always has been.
It's eternal.
Yeah.
It's eternal. And so these moments, when these aha moments happen, and I'm a witness, you're a witness, we've all been a witness of it in that process called the impact trainings. The trigger for me that I've always noticed, that what causes that to happen is someone's willingness to being open. That willingness is so vital. And when that happens, it opens up these other possibilities that, again, have always been there. Because to me, I know there is an infinite field of possibilities available to all of us at all moments.
Oh, hold on a sec. I know what you're talking about. So does Jeff. She does not, I don't think. Maybe. But I want to just take a few minutes. I want you to take a few minutes and say that again at any moment. Yeah. So any moment. I don't care if you're at the grocery store. I don't care if, I care, but it doesn't matter, right? What that moment is. At that moment, you have infinite in front of you.
Mm-hmm. Infinite possibilities.
Infinite possibilities in every single second of your life.
At every single moment.
That is profound, right? Which means, if I'm comprehending this, the choices you make in that second are going to, our brains can't even comprehend the possibilities that are in front of us.
Well, and that's the thing that's going back to the trainings again, where you talk about our brains.
Comprehending, it's not,
There's
I said that for a reason, because I know
Yeah.
you're going to go someplace else from the brain, because that's what we do. We stay right here in our brains. Now, what we're going to talk about is we're talking about possibility. Perhaps there's a possibility, instead of coming from here, maybe we can come from another place. Can we talk about what
I mean, that's, and when we start talking about coming from somewhere else other than the brain, because there's so much that's talked about in our world today about the mind and the power of the mind and what
how it controls everything,
and what you can do with the mind.
Yes.
And all of these things. And so, people get so wound up in, okay, I've got to cram more, I've got to learn more, I've got to seek for more. There's got to be more
that I can learn.
And it's always, that process always takes someone to go outside of themselves and look for something outside of themselves for the answer. And as they're going outside of themselves looking for the answer, what they'll always find, predominantly they'll find, is someone else's opinions, thoughts, beliefs, ideas, that's all based on their own life experiences, which isn't that individual's life experience. So they're looking for an answer to their own life experience somewhere else that isn't their life experience.
And then believing that is their truth.
Well, Yeah, because what happens, and this happens. I mean, we've all done it. I've done it.
Of course.
It's part of human nature. Is that then we'll begin to embrace something that someone else says, and it's like, okay, that sounds good, and sometimes it may even feel good too. And so then they'll grasp onto it and say, okay, so that's it.
That's the answer.
And yes, and then start to operate their life based on that, which again is not
Their life.
who they are.
Yes.
And so it's a matter of, rather than, and this is really the whole process of the impact trainings. The whole purpose of the training is to allow a person to go through an experience, and that's truly what the training is. It's an experience, and they have the experience, and then through that, they're then going through the steps to look for truth.
So
To look for the answers that are within them, and I know people. Oh, that's a cliche. Oh no, that's
Yeah.
no. It is not a cliche.
Yeah.
It is the absolute truth.
truth. Yeah.
Well, it is a cliche until you experience it.
Wow.
That's
So
true.
what about those booklets you guys hand out in the training, in Impact?
Booklets. Oh, I love.
So
You mean all the cassette tapes?
Yeah,
and
yeah. So
yeah, of
just
course,
so
I'm
that-
dating myself now saying cassette tapes, but
So the reason I say that is because there are no booklets
no,
handed out,
no.
right? So you're not setting this class down and saying, "Okay, everybody, let's turn to page 22. Today we're going to What you're doing is just letting the experience it is. There is no you're not directing anything. You're just taking what is given to you, and I had to so I'm sitting in the back and I'm very intently watching everything that they are doing, just like you are, right?
Who's
And
they?
the people that are sitting in this room that are going through the beginning stages of impact. And so
Yeah, so those are the ones we call. They're the trainees.
The trainees,
so the
right.
ones
Okay,
that come
so
to
just
the
like-
training.
they're in a-
Paint this picture not only for me but for who's listening. Like, how many people
and this
are
particular,
they?
when I went through, there was probably, I'm going to say 45 or 50 or so people in my room. In this particular room, there was 30, I don't even know, 20, I don't even know. They're in a
Yeah.
room and they're sitting in chairs.
Yeah, we've had groups
Yeah.
when we do the trainings all the way from probably in the mid-20s all the way up to sometimes when
You had
we
to split the classes, right?
yeah, sometimes when we have, well, at least in Quest, the largest that we like to go is around 150.
Oh, wow.
Because once we get beyond that, people can hide very easily in a group.
And that's what, okay. I've known a lot of people in my life, Justin. You're the only person that I know that is able to, or recognizes, or whatever it is, on the energy that's coming from an individual. Just as good as myself. If the energy, so you don't know, I don't, maybe you do remember this. I'm sitting in my Quest, and something's happening over there. And I'm like, holy shit. And I'm over here in my own little world. Nobody's watching me. Nobody's paying. Seriously.
Yeah, but then
And
what
then
happens?
you said, do you remember this? To me, you probably don't. You see thousands of people. This happens all the time with you, but
yeah,
with me.
but I don't remember this specific one.
but
But I
you
know
s- you said-
I know these moments happen
Yes,
all
they,
the time.
they do, because it's like you're in this room and all these energies are and you're something, it's like, oh my gosh, it's something's happening over there with this person, and you feel the energy coming from me, and you looked at me and you said to me, as I'm off in my own little world, you're talking to somebody else, Justin, and in the middle of, and I'm not even listening because I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so wonderful. What are you experiencing, Tony? Or how about the time when I was staffing Quest and I'm sitting over there by myself recently, and you looked at me and you felt, you pick up on the energy. And so in this room, Justin is the person we'll call facilitating these people's experiences and enlightening them on the pleasures of what you've experienced and what you know, right, about life. Because you weren't, that's why I'm like, what do those manuals look like? There are no manuals.
No.
There's life. So these people come into the room and, I don't know, they've had all their loved ones, like you had Spencer tell you, Dad, you got to do this. Tell them, and they've experienced, like you experienced with your son. Wait, he's different. Something's, right? What did they do to my kid?
Yeah, and if I could interject there too, because
Yeah.
there's so many pertinent things that have been said. I walked into Quest cold turkey because I loved my son. There was probably 75, 80 in the group I was in, and I was good at hiding. I was there to support my son. I'm going to sit in the back. I'll get through this. I'm a smart guy.
And see, I bet he wasn't having none of that.
Well, here's the thing.
But Tony,
every training's
keep
different.
going because
things happen.
It's not about me not letting it happen or not.
I get it.
It's an incredible experience, and Jeff will share, what happened here. And this was one of those magical moments that there are many moments of the training I do always remember. There are many that I don't remember because it's not for me to remember. It's not
your story.
It's not. I'm just there facilitating. I'm there in the process with them, and whatever that looks like. And it's anyway.
Well,
Go ahead, Jeff.
It's beautiful because, things happen in the training, and I'm not going to get into the details because people need to come and just
experience
see
it
and
for
feel and
themselves.
experience it. But things happened that, had they not happened, I would have hid. I was good at that. But I walked in with my own experience. I'd had this near-death experience. I'd had this out-of-body experience. I had all this grief and baggage and pain. And the beautiful thing is my son, he saw it. Dad, come do this. Now, the beautiful thing is I had some profound experiences. But it's like I had experienced the sum being in the arms of the divine, but the equation didn't make sense. I didn't know how it all added up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly I go into Quest, and I'm in the back, and I'm learning, and I'm listening, and I'm remembering, literally remembering, like wow. And there's the equation. Now it's beginning to fall into order, this mystical experience that I really couldn't make sense of and was afraid to talk about. I hadn't even shared it with anybody publicly. Didn't want people to think I was crazy or, And things happened in the training that none of us had any control of. I mean, there's no.
But it's never that way. Nobody.
It happens.
But it happens.
It just happens.
And then, boom, because of what happened, all of a sudden there I am, and I'm face to face with Justin because of a situation. And there's this beautiful opening. When you said be open. Now here was the big shift. Justin spoke about coming from within, all these external sources. Well, gosh, I was in the arms of the divine. That's an external force. God was telling me it was okay, But I had never gone within. I'd never healed from the inside out. And this is what began to happen at Quest and in the impact trainings. Suddenly it's like, wow, okay, I can make sense of this, but the real healing for me is going to stop looking for validation from outside sources, even if I call that God, and start going within to my own divine source, to my own light within, and healing that way. And that was the big shift that happened. And then suddenly the puzzle pieces began to fit in a way that was profound.
Well, with that, Jeff, a little bit of just what happened. There's a statement we say in the training a lot, and it's there are no accidents.
Is Justin on camera, by the way?
Check. I would guess so.
Okay, I want to make sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, but there are no accidents. And this, I'm going to give just a really brief snippet of history here with Jeff's experience, at least from my perspective, because this was years ago, but I was at here in Salt Lake, and my wife's sister and husband had just gotten home that night from a trip that they had been on. And when they got home, they shared about what happened on their way home.
Now, we talked about this a minute ago.
Yeah.
The first persons
Yes.
on scene go.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was my brother-in-law. He's a pediatrician, medical doctor. And so he's the first one on the scene.
With your sister-in-law.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, yeah, because they were driving home. So they
Yeah.
first one on the scene. And then, Ryan shared, that's my brother-in-law's first name. Ryan started to share his experience and what he had gone through. And, I mean, they were, obviously very shaken up by the
scene that they came on that you described earlier.
They were the first ones on the scene where there's fatalities.
Yeah.
I'm an absolute mess, and there's a hysterical.
There's
7-year-old.
two dead bodies.
Yeah.
That,
yeah.
I mean, look, I was a medic in the Army, spent some time in the emergency room where I got to witness a lot of the death that's associated with mental health. That never gets, and I've seen some scenes that are horrific, similar to this.
Yeah.
That's not something that you ever don't be affected by.
Yeah.
I don't care how many times you've seen it. When you've seen death and you've seen near death and you're trying to work on that not being death, it's always if it doesn't jack with you, then you ain't normal.
Yeah.
So now you're coming home or you're experiencing them coming home from that experience.
Yeah. And it was a few hour drive too by the time they got to where I was at that evening from the event. And so, they shared that and everything, and then, of course, we all then go on with our lives, and then lo and behold, Jeff comes walking into the training.
Do you know who he is when he walks in?
Oh, no, not a clue. Okay? That's the cool thing that I love about the training most of all is people walk into the training. We don't have a VIP section. We don't have a place where somebody pays a little more to get a little better, whatever. No, everybody pays the same dollar amount. They put on their name tag, they walk in, and they just sit down wherever they sit down.
And the front row is exactly the same as the 10th row. It's all the same.
I love it. They just walk in together. There's on their name tags, it doesn't have if they're a
CEO,
CP, whatever, C3P or whatever.
CPTO.
Yeah.
See, that's what I was wanting to say, but it didn't come out.
Yeah.
But, none of that's there. It's just their name. Their first name, big letters, bold letters. Their last name is in little caps there in the corner, but it's just their first name. That's it. But anyway, Jeff comes in. And then the thing that's amazing, though, is, he had that experience. Ryan came home from that, shared, and then then Jeff walks into the training, shares of his experience, and that whole sounds like you guys have chatted about that already.
Yeah,
and that was really amazing because I know I've talked to Jeff about this, so I'm great talking about it now. But I know even after that, I remember Jeff always wanting to find me. It's like every time he saw me in the hallway, I just I got to get out of here. Because I knew that process wasn't about, again, it's not about me. It's not about what I did in that moment, Justin Atkinson. No, it was Jeff's moment. It was his moment to do the work that he did. And I get emotional a lot, but that was quite honestly quite a moment to witness, to just be a part of. But I didn't do it.
Which is what you said at 1:00 in the morning or whatever time it was. Hey guys, to all of us, there was, I don't know how many people were staffing. I don't know, 12 or 13 of us.
Yeah.
I'm just witnessing this right alongside you.
It happens
I'm just
to
along
me
for the ride with you.
every time.
And I'm just as amazed. That's what I was going to say. When that young man did what he did, because of the fact, oftentimes we want people to remove masks, right? We assist them in that endeavor, and those masks can be manifests in lots of different ways. This particular individual did something with his hair, right? Because people have hair all the time. I'm thinking over the however many decades you've been doing this, surely this has happened before. Was stunned when you said that's never happened before.
Never happened.
I mean, people have come back the next day with their appearances that have been altered with lack of hair. But
Well, but there's all of those one-of moments. You know, yeah, they may look like, well, someone else did that, but no, everyone has their own unique way of doing it. And so they're always a one-of. It goes back to the comment we were talking about earlier about infinite possibilities.
Yeah.
You know, it's never the same. I mean, I've been in these trainings for years, and there's never a training that's like any other training.
yeah,
But I want to finish up with Jeff, though, because this, again, no accidents. That here there's an environment now where Jeff can come in and do the work that he wants to do with what has happened with him and his life experience. And he did wonderful. I mean, he just took it on, and that's Jeff. That's what he does. And boy, everybody's inspired. And it was just such a moving moment for everyone involved, everyone. And then the amazing thing about it is that afterwards, you know, my wife started thinking, wait a second. Jeff talks about this experience.
my sister.
But my sister came home one night and talking about, what? Is this the same?
Could it be?
Could it be the same experience? And we've heard that Jeff was wanting to find out who was that
there?
person.
Oh my gosh!
Who was that person? And so all of a sudden, you know, my wife, I mean, she's amazing at putting things together. She's like, that was the same thing. I said, we've got to have Jeff meet Ryan.
Yeah.
And I mean,
What an amazing moment that must have been.
Oh, it was incredible. I mean, at the time of the accident, there was people that stopped. Ryan and Elisa were first, and Ryan being a medical professional.
And isn't Elisa? She's an RN, right? Is she?
No.
No, she's a therapist.
yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
She's got a degree in
Yeah, that's right.
psychology.
Yeah.
But anyway, at that time, and this was before social media or anything else, there was someone at the accident that was able to contact my mother and told her about this doctor that was there and this couple that had taken part in this early scenes of the accident. My mom even wrote letters to the editor of the newspaper. And that's how
figure who
far
this
back
per-
this
yeah.
is. 27 years
Well,
ago.
yeah, that's what a mom would do. Yeah.
And yet, look where we've come in 27
Yeah.
years with technology and connection. But we never found out who this was. And the interesting thing, you mentioned Ryan and Elisa's son, Adam. He was in my training. And I went cold turkey with Spencer, my son, saying,
Wait.
come do this.
That's the connection.
That's the connection, because I'm sitting in my training thinking, oh, this is what Spencer, my son, was talking about. But watching this young man, Adam, and thinking, I bet Spence was like that in the training. I bet, because I was wondering what was his experience like.
Yeah.
I was having my own experience.
Sure.
So I had this connection with this kid called Adam. And then there was another young lady in the training, which was Justin's daughter, Justin and Holly's daughter, Elisa and Ryan's niece.
Can't make this stuff
You
up.
can't make this stuff
Yeah,
up.
and
No.
so
I'll tell you.
I was attached to these kids because I thought,
And you
I
have
bet that's
no
what
idea
Spencer
who
was
these
like.
people are.
I had no idea. I had gone through Quest, Summit, Liftoff. I was in Life Mastery.
Stop it.
And I had volunteered, which is a
Wow.
beautiful experience, to be a coach, to coach
Yeah.
other men as they go through their experience. And Holly was the coordinator of the coaches. So I'd done all of this. I'd been through all of it. And that's when Holly said, there's someone I want to introduce you to. Where was your accident? When was your accident? And I said, this is when it was.
Holly
And
is
she knew,
Justin's wife.
She
Yeah,
knew.
my
Holly's
wife.
Yeah.
Justin's wife.
Yeah.
So she introduced me to Ryan, and to know he was the guy. He was the guy that was on the scene. He
To
was the
be
one
a
in the
fly
mayhem.
on the wall to watch that.
And I mean, there was tears, there was laughter,
Yeah.
there was hugs. And then he said, let me introduce you to my son. And he points to Adam. And I'm like,
I
you
know
gotta
that guy.
be
Yeah,
kidding
yeah,
me.
yeah.
Yeah, we just spent the last, 8 months together going through all this training. So there are no accidents. And the people that come into your life, the people that have come into my life, what a blessing. I mean, it's like it's family. I mean, I have
is.
my blood family, and I love and adore them. I have an extended family that I love and adore every bit as much. And you can't orchestrate it. You couldn't make it up. The things
No.
that happen to bring people together, to
No.
cause breakthroughs.
Well, see, but this,
Yeah.
Jeff, this goes back to what I was saying earlier about an individual being willing. And as soon as that happens,
Yeah.
the pop happens, the magic happens, the possibilities happen. Because rewind and go back to that moment in your quest training, Jeff, and and go back to a possibility of you not doing what you did.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, just even the brain can't even picture. But then, walk through your life, saying that's what your life is now, rather than what it is because of the choice you made in that moment. And that's why that moment of willingness, and we all have it every single moment of our life. It's not anything unusual again for anyone. But we all have it. And then he took that moment, and then because of that, look what transpired. What possibilities came forth at that moment that wouldn't have come otherwise,
Yeah.
because the possibilities were there.
Well,
They were always there,
yeah.
but notice what triggered the possibility happening.
Yeah.
I love that.
This last training, what's sticking with me right now, what I feel compelled to, is the things you've shared. Don't be afraid to share, right? Don't be afraid to share, right? Because you'll be involved with whatever moment you're in at that moment of being a part of that person's journey, whoever they are. And she's got to experience some of this. We were at a restaurant, and the guy that I knew was a chef went in to use the bathroom and walked right by us. I know he's a chef, but here's the thing, and we're off camera, I think. Are we off camera? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, they both just shut up.
And this is what I started to say, what I started with. What are we using in my level of work, right, to assist these individuals in getting past this roadblock that is clearly in front of them? I would be not fulfilling who I am, why I'm here, if I don't do my part in assisting whoever can hear the podcast to go experience this, right?
Yeah.
I believe that and my therapist will give me all kinds of grief for saying this, because therapy, it's the end all. But you know what, at the end of the day, if therapy was all that in a bag of chips, then we wouldn't be where we are right now. We must, if we want different results, we have to have different actions. We have to do things differently. If you wanted, and right now our system is broken. And so here I am, right? And there's a lot of things happening. I'm going to have to go to Washington, D.C. to talk to Lee and Curtis. I'm working on some things with some senators here and my representatives because of what a district court judge is doing up. I mean, it's horrific what's happening, right? And I'm not really excited about pissing off a sheriff and a district court judge.
You're a little excited.
These guys could shut me down,
Mm-hmm.
right? But what
Well,
I'm not going to do, Justin,
Possibly, maybe shut you down. They can, as you know,
they can shut me down, but they cannot shut me
can
up.
never shut you.
Up.
Can never shut you down.
No,
period.
they will not ever.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
who am I,
Mm-hmm.
right? And why am I here? Those words, I didn't. Here's one for you, Justin. I go through Quest and Summit. Nobody ever asks me in the entire time of Summit who I am and why I'm here.
That never happened
Uh-uh.
in the whole process.
No.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Then,
Wow.
7 years later, I'm introduced to a group that Jules was in, right? That Amanda is facilitating, and I know now, because I created that not being asked, guaranteed, so I could have the experience I had in this. So now I know you're gonna get asked this question. You're not gonna get out of it now, and sure as shit, it gets asked. I'll never forget this, and I forgot. And I'd already had it memorized, but I forgot. And so what's that?
you forgot to answer your own question.
I did, right? And so I said to Mandy, well, I'm going to get up and go get my cheat sheet.
great.
She's like, no, you sit your ass down and you figure this out. And when Tony, whoever's listening, when Tony got it, whoever's talking is going to stop. Well, Mandy was the person talking when I got it, and she stopped. And I remember to myself thinking, wow, she really cares about me.
Mm-hmm.
She really... And I stood up, and I stumbled. I faltered at some point, and every single person in that room, Justin, it was so perfect because they were all on the edge of their chairs. So many times we were in that moment when you're like, don't crack the eggshell.
Yeah.
Let you gotta let them get out of the egg their own.
Let them crack it.
Yeah. And
Don't
so
get in
everybody,
their way.
yes, let them experience this.
Yeah.
And I did get through it, and I shit you not, the roof came off the building.
Mm-hmm.
It was so much love for me, right? And it's in those moments that we recognize, that I recognized, wow, if that's the kind of love that's coming from these people, imagine the love that can come from this person.
Yep.
And this is the vision of impact. It has to be the vision of impact. And Hans, divinely getting these directives, whatever you want to call it, however it can, to me, it doesn't matter. What matters is that he did it. He had a call to action, right? And he went out and did what he did. And I will be eternally grateful to Hans and Sally and you. Here's the beautiful part. There's no front row. There's no back row. There just is. You want to shut that one or no? Are you good? Yeah. There just is. So,
I know that, spending as much time as I have with Hans.
So for everybody that can hear us, Hans is...
Yeah, Hans.
Who is Hans?
Hans Berger. So Hans Berger and his wife Sally Berger are the co-founders of the Impact Trainings.
And when exactly did this start, Impact Trainings?
So formally, the very first training, the first one was in 1985. And
So this has been happening for
yes,
a long time.
Yeah. I mean, we're 2025. I mean,
it's been a while.
It's a few years.
Yeah.
And so they started the training, and I say they started the training, because Hans had many different life experiences, and I'm not sure if we're going to get into any of that now, but the bottom line is that I remember him saying this to me, and this was in the year that he passed. He said, Justin, he said, I always wondered why in my life I've always won. He said, no matter what I've done, I've always won. And he's like, I've always questioned, and always wondered what that is. And he said, it finally hit me. He said, that simply has allowed me to have those experiences and therefore bring forth the Impact Trainings. Mm-hmm. Without it, I couldn't do what I'm doing. And he says, that's why it happened, so that I can do what I'm doing now, and therefore bring forth an experience or a way for people to come and find what they're looking for.
Which is what?
Well, but he said this though too, and I'll go on to that. But what he said when he said to find what they're looking for, he said it wasn't really so that they could come into the training and for a few days have a great experience and be able to tell everybody else, oh, I had this great experience, and then they just go do what they always do. He said, no, I did it so they could come in, find what they're looking for, and then take that out into their life and live it. And literally be that in their life. And that's, he said, that's really why the Impact Trainings are here. And so as far as finding what someone's looking for, what is that? What is that? It's different for everybody.
It's interesting listening to you because there's a real parallel between what you just said and what I have learned in my own recovery. And there is a phrase within the 12-step and within the original Alcoholics Anonymous Big Book where basically it says we come to discover that our experience is of the greatest value. It is the thing that is of greatest value to us.
Our experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, not only our experience, but our suffering it becomes when we transform it into an asset. It becomes the greatest asset as we use it out in our lives, and especially to be of service. It becomes something entirely different. And so when I'm listening to you, what I'm hearing is this is one language, like impact is a language that is speaking something that is universally true. There are many languages, many societies, and many groups of humans that kind of they agree on a language, and because they agree on the language, they can have the experience. And so you're tapping into something that is actually true, and it just depends on, can you hear it? Can you receive it? And it doesn't really matter to those who really know, who really understand that that's what's going on. They like the founder was describing, like, I don't really care where you receive it, just that you do, please.
Yeah.
And I hope that for you. And so it's fascinating to hear the parallels for me, because I don't know what you're talking about, and I do know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the cool thing that I've, at least, and this is me speaking personally, but what I've come to learn through my life experience is that truth is something that applies everywhere.
Yeah.
There are no exceptions. There are no, well, not here, but there. It's universally applicable everywhere at all times, and it's infinite.
Yeah.
And as long as something fits that, then that's truth. If there's anything that applies here but doesn't apply there, it's not truth. That's agenda. That's a human created belief, some kind of system created by human, by the ego, by the brain, the mind, not the brain, but the mind, the ego mind. But it's not a universal truth. And I know for Hans, for me knowing him and still knowing him the way that I do, he looked for years in his life, because he grew up in East Germany during World War II, and again had some horrific experiences. I'll say this, Hans always said that if you ever met anyone in uniform, in a soldier's uniform, you don't mess with them, because it will not go well.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting things that are said today about certain governmental leaders being like the German regime. They're not even
In the same
remotely
ballpark.
not even remotely close to what that was like, because Hans shared some very specific things with me, which I won't go into detail now about. But he grew up there.
Well,
and
there are German officers that have taken their pistol out of their holsters and just walked over and shot people.
That's yeah.
So that's that's it.
Yeah,
Right.
It's
So that's the scene. That happened.
Yeah.
And
well, sometimes they were much more brutally involved.
That was the easy way.
That was that was quick and
Call
it easy.
There's other ways of doing
Yeah.
the same thing that are a lot more problematic than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Hans, with his family, the story that they had to escape from East Germany is we always told Hans, you gotta write a book, you gotta do something, and he's like, nope, I don't want to ever do that. He said, it's not about me.
Yeah.
And so again, it's I get emotional at times, but he had those experiences just so that he could then bring forth this environment, this training, or this space for people to come and find what they're looking for.
Yeah, that was the book he wanted to write anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he wrote the book.
Yeah.
It's not on shelves today
Yeah.
at the Barnes and Noble, but
However,
it's on the shelf
if you
for
want to
anyone.
experience that book,
Yeah.
then you can come to Impact,
Yep.
right? And because everything that Impact is it is Hans, right? It is Hans. That book that you're referring to, and all the lessons that were learned, we can, and this is the question I'm going to ask with you, Justin. If there's somebody out there listening that is struggling with, I don't care. I mean, I do care, but it's irrelevant what somebody is struggling with, because it could be, and we always think that, oh, I'm the only person that's experiencing this, and what we don't get is that we're all here together. We are all experiencing. I can't even tell you how many times that somebody will say, when a large group, give me this experience, and the person gives that experience, and then somebody might say, well, everybody in the room that's experienced that, raise your hand, and almost every person in the room, and the person that was sharing that experience is saying, what? Wait, I thought I was the only one that I was the only one, and what we get to go to is that we are all here together experiencing the exact, literally same things. So as somebody's listening to this, Justin, right, somebody that is struggling with their addiction, whatever it is, right, then I'm going to suggest to you they can achieve their release from that darkness and get over into the light, because that's what this is, and that's what we are. We are all light.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Bottom line.
We are.
Yep.
I just cut to the, yeah. How the Impact experience for me has done more for me because it showed me who I really am. Who am I? Right? I didn't know, and there are so many of us that don't know who we are. Why are we here?
Well, but that's something that, given possibly the audience right now, and
Yeah.
you know, the thing, and I've seen this happen so many times that someone will come into the training and they'll have various, we'll call addictions, okay, and it may be alcohol, it could be drugs,
Cigarettes.
it could be sex, it could be work. It could be pain. They're addicted to pain. I mean, the list goes on and on, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I know there's definitely times that I do recall somebody standing up and saying, well, I'm so-and-so and I'm alcoholic. And so many times the response that comes back is, that's not true. That's not who you are. And that begins, again, a whole nother string of possibilities now. Well, if I'm not an alcoholic, which I've been telling myself, I'm not a drug abuser, I'm not a child molester. I mean, it happens. I'm not this user that everybody has told me that I am, that I've actually told myself. Well, if that's not who I am, then who am I? And that begins a process. Again, a whole nother realm of possibilities. And that's what happens in the training, is that when someone is willing, and I'm going to go back to that again, when they're willing to let go of what they have actually embraced for so long, that's when the magic happens. That's when the pop happens. That's when the possibilities begin to come in. And that's why I'm saying that's not me. That's not something that I do. I can't force or make that happen for someone. That's a choice they make on their own. And when that choice happens, again, the beautiful thing about the training, and we say this all the time, staffs that are there, the environment there is so unique It's so unique. It's not like you find just out walking in the street and going to the shopping mall, or it's such a unique environment because there's an energy there of willingness. People only come to the training, quite honestly, because they're ready and they're willing.
Well, you're creating a collective consciousness.
Exactly.
And it's real. It actually happens.
Yes.
And that happens in dedicated spaces.
Yes, yes.
Well, the collective
Yes.
consciousness is being created by the people in the room,
Yes.
not by you. They're the ones that are creating this collective consciousness, and it's such
Yes.
a beautiful experience to witness.
And, yes, and at the same time, and we've talked about this already, but when they come, and again, we've got over 8 billion people on our planet right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's crazy. Over 8 billion.
It's a lot of folks.
Yeah, that's just a couple. And so
Yeah.
when we come into these group settings, like we talked about earlier, they're 20, 50, 150, whatever size it is, that's a minuscule number to 8 billion. And then all of a sudden, they come into the training, and then they start talking about somebody's willing, somebody starts talking, sharing, opening up, acknowledging what's happened in their life.
Being vulnerable.
And then, all of a sudden, another person in that group of 50 people out of 8 billion says, oh my gosh, it's like you're speaking, but it's like you're saying my words.
Mm-hmm.
And that starts to happen, and all of a sudden, this magic starts happening, and the people start opening. And then they're in an environment, too, where they have given their word to take on themselves in a way they've never done it before. And you mentioned something earlier, too, Tony, that there's the definition of insanity. And, of course, the typical one is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Yep.
Well, that's commonly known, but I love another perspective of insanity. And the definition of an insanity for me is acting as if the truth is not the truth. And that happens so many times. Again, my name is so-and-so and I'm an alcoholic. No, you're not. That's not who you are. That's something you've done, but that's not who you are.
So I have a different perspective on that. Because when I entered recovery, I knew that, exactly what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told in order to recover, you basically need to take on this identity, right? And so I made the conscious choice, okay, I am going to have this experience. Like, I'm going to have the experience of being an alcoholic, and I'm going to do that. Mm-hmm. Always knowing that's not really what I am. I know that. And at the same time, kind of like what you were talking about, Jeff, where you decided, I'm going to feel all of it. And so I almost, I took on this identity and I said, okay, I'm going to have the experience of an alcoholic getting sober. And I'm so grateful for that experience. And then the time came to where I did not need that anymore. And then it fell off. It wasn't even really a hard line. It was just, okay, that experience is complete. I had that experience. Mm-hmm. So I can see both sides, absolutely. Like, always knowing that doesn't define me. And at the same time, I'm going to opt into the experience. I'm going to have a child. I'm not a mother, but I am. I'm going to have the experience of being a mother. I'm going to have the experience of being a poet. And so I'm going to do that. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's some value in taking on labels and like wearing them loosely and understanding this is how I do this. And it's kind of what we do when we become human, really. Yeah. Like, we decide, okay, I'm going to have this human experience. And so in order for my spirit to really believe itself, I'm going to opt in. I'm going to have a human experience.
So you bring up something that we
talk
are
about
human,
that a lot.
Yeah, that's what
we dive into that a lot in the training.
Yeah.
Well, and so to celebrate it and be grateful for it and not resist it, and to like, this is what I want. Like, my spirit chose to have a human experience. And so when things come up and it's like, well, why, or this shouldn't be happening, it's like, no, this is
Mm-hmm.
This is the experience.
I love what you're saying because it is an experience.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
and it's
you
wonderful.
know, I may be this divine, eternal being who's experiencing alcoholism,
Yeah.
or is experiencing heartbreak, or is experiencing injuries in my body.
Yeah.
That's not who I am,
Right.
but I'm having the experience. I'm experiencing what I'm not, that I might fully embrace what and who I am.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hearing you say, and that resonates with me because we're far beyond human, but we're having a human experience.
Yeah.
So, for the people that can hear us talking right now, guaranteed, you know it, so do you. Somebody, we're making this now, it's going to get posted and we'll let you know when it is, but that person that's sitting, you know what? It just takes one for me. If one person hears this, when one person hears this, because the objective of this podcast is to assist individuals to recognize. Imagine that you're a construction worker and you got this tool belt, right? And you know that everything that all these slots on this tool belt are for specific tools to help assist you in achieving building this home. We can transform this into a human experience. In other words, I'm now wearing a human tool belt, and all these little slots on this tool belt, these different tools, are going to assist me in having joy. There's this slot there. It's been there. I've always known that there's a tool that is supposed to go there, but I don't know what the tool looks like. I certainly don't know how to use it. For me, this has been my experience. What Impact did for me was like, oh, dang. Is that oh, look, it fits right inside there. And then what Impact has done is say, hey, Tony, imagine if you've never used a crescent wrench. If you've never seen a crescent wrench before, and somebody hands it to you, you're not going to have a clue how to use it to achieve the goal of loosening these nuts and bolts. Hey, Tony, here's a crescent wrench. Here, you know how to use it. You've always known how to use it. And look, you turn that little knob and it comes open and closed. For me, Impact has shown me the tools that have always been in my arsenal, but I forgot that they were there. And here's how you use them. I mean, is that?
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Going back to what you were sharing about with where you're at with alcoholism, and because of that experience, look where you are now. I mean, and now looking back, you can say, "Oh my gosh, what an incredible process that has been."
Yeah.
Painfully beautiful experience.
Okay. Yeah, which again, without experiencing pain, how do you know joy? If you don't turn the lights out, you never know what light is.
Yeah.
Because it's just always on. And so now you've been through that process. But what I find a lot that happens though is that when people, they come into the training, there's these, again, certain beliefs, there's these certain ideas that they've embraced that's literally in the way of them embracing themselves. And so there are things that are said at times in the training that can be very, very sharp.
Yes.
And I say that because again at that moment, the person's right there, and they're ready to face that, whatever that is for them, whatever the it is for them. They're ready to face that, and sometimes a soft-spoken word isn't what's going to get to the next step. You got to take out the sledgehammer and smack them on the head. Okay.
Metaphorically speaking, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never done that ever in the
Just
training.
so everybody knows, I've never seen a hammer.
No,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
have it. I don't have my hammer in the back of my pocket.
Yeah.
But it's that type of thing. And so because my wife had a statement that she shared with me just this last week. I loved. It was really, really good. And she said, "What's interesting," and let's see if I can get the wording of it correctly. She said that people often trade short-term discomfort for long-term dysfunction.
Say that one more time.
People often trade short-term discomfort for long-term dysfunction.
That reminds me of what Ram Dass says, get on with it. Just
Yeah.
get on with it. Just get into it, because
Yeah.
long term, right?
Yeah,
be
yeah.
better.
So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
well, don't talk to me sharply right now.
Mm.
And I said, okay, well, if we're not going to talk sharply, then we're going to extend this thing out.
Right,
You're
exactly.
going to experience long-term dysfunction
Mm-hmm.
because you're unwilling to engage in short-term discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
So what do you say, Justin, to the person that's listening right now that's stuck in their addiction, and whether it's their addiction to sugar, gaming, pornography, drugs, sex, and all the other things that we would deem as negative, right? That they're wanting this person, whoever they are, for a shift. One of the things I heard, and I'm thinking about putting this on a T-shirt, by the way. Shift happens.
yeah.
I mean,
I can't believe that T-shirt doesn't exist.
I've never,
like
seen,
it
I've never
does.
seen it.
We actually had a bumper sticker years ago that we had at Impact. That shift happens.
Well,
Yeah,
it does
it's
happen
great.
if you're willing to allow it to happen. But what do you say to the person that's right there? Why impact, Justin?
Why impact? I mean, it's a great question. I would simply say with impact, if you're really ready to have shift happen, just go to the training. I mean, if you're ready and willing to face it, that's really number one. Because again, you labeled addictions. I mean, addictions are all over the place.
They are.
Okay, they're everywhere. So that's, again, it doesn't matter who walks into the training. There's an addiction of
Absolutely.
some sort.
Yeah.
Okay, some sort. And so, if you're really ready and willing to face it, and I say this not because I'm saying impact is it. I'm just saying I've done, again, over 30 years. People come into the training, and I've heard it time and time and time and time and time again. I've never experienced anything like this anywhere else.
Which is why earlier I said what religion I was raised in.
Just in a recent training, I remember a trainee saying, "Oh, if church was like this, I'd go every day."
Exactly.
But it's and again, I'm not dissing religion.
Neither am
And
I.
I'm not saying not to do it. If it works,
If it works for you, have at it. Yeah.
give it everything you got.
Yeah.
Engage. But it's if you're truly willing to take it on, then my gosh, the impact trainings is an incredible process.
Well,
It's
and
an
like you
incredible
said,
process.
if truth exists, then it can exist there too,
Yep.
within religion, and it surely does.
And for a lot of people, it does.
Must. Yeah,
But
and
from-
if it does, then they don't care what you say.
Which is true.
Well,
They'll be fine.
I remember this was years ago. Oh my gosh, this is taking back the history books. But there was a training that Hans and I were, because we used to train together, he and I, in the Quest training, and I remember one training, it was happening and everything was going on, and I remember looking at Hans and I said, you know what, Hans, I said, wouldn't it be incredible if we actually had a world with no prisons? And I'll never forget what he said. He looked at me and he said, Justin, that would be absolutely horrific. And I'm like, what are you saying? And he said, for some people, prison is the next step for them.
Have you read Escape from Evil by Ernest Becker, or anything by Ernest Becker?
I have not, no.
It's fascinating, and it talks about that. It talks
Yeah.
about why we have created
That experience.
prison and evil, and
Yeah.
all the ways that we do that.
But I think in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
we're all
Yeah.
in prison in certain ways.
Well, I mean, touche.
mean-
Yeah, but then he was saying, so if that wasn't there,
Mm-hmm.
now picture a ladder with a rung taken out of it, you know,
Right, yeah.
a step taken out of it, and how much more difficult, if not possibly impossible, which there is nothing that's impossible, but you get what I'm saying, that how much more would it be if that step isn't there? And so those steps are always vital, and every step of this entire creation, this entire experience, everything that's happening in this world today, there are no accidents. It all has purpose for everyone involved, and there's not any piece that, you know, doesn't belong. It's all there, and it's going to continue to be there. As you know, when there's an energy or a vibration that supports it. Now, as soon as that energy and vibration is no longer present, then it'll just go away.
So when we stop repeating the Holocaust story, it won't happen. That's what I was thinking when you guys were talking about the people. They see this repeating within our government, but it's only repeating because they are seeing it. Like you were saying, at any given moment, if we could collectively agree, oh, that doesn't have to happen, then it doesn't have to happen. We don't have to go there again.
It's that
but we
choice
think
thing.
we do have to go there again, and perhaps enough of us believe that we do. But it's I heard it when you were describing the ways that people are perceiving our current situation as inevitably going to repeat previous situations, and it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely. So, I mean, I'm going to say this because it's coming up for me right now,
Yeah.
based on what you're just sharing there right now. You asked the question again, why impact? I mean, really,
Right.
the bottom line is, if you want to free yourself,
Okay, so you didn't say if you want to get free. You said if you want to free yourself.
Yes.
Meaning you, whoever you are, have the power.
Yes.
You always have had the power.
Yes, absolutely. There's no question. I can't say I've seen it all, but I've seen quite a lot in 30 years. I mean, you imagine,
It's a long stretch.
I mean, literally hundreds of thousands
I was
of people.
going to say, we were going to put a number.
I don't even know the number.
It's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah.
But to be in a position to see that many people come into a context of saying, I'm here to take this on. I'm here to take me on.
My life.
I mean, you heard Jeff.
Yeah.
What brought him there? He's like, okay, you know, I'm in. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
That's the way he came into the training. And look at what happened because he came in that way. All of a sudden, things happened. Possibilities lined up. You know, this happened. All of a sudden, that gets him up out of his chair and he's talking when normally he would sit on his ass and not do anything. Okay, now all of a sudden he's up and it's okay. I'm in it now. You know, when you're in the wave, you don't have a choice. You're in the wave.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna ride it till it's done.
That's right.
If you've ever gone surfing or or any of that, you're in the wave when it happens.
There's no wait. I want to go back.
No. You don't get out
No.
of it. It's happening.
But
And,
you know, Justin, that's this life.
Yeah.
You're either on that wave or you aren't. And that wave for me is a wave of joy and happiness. That is my choice, right? And I came to that realization in large part, mostly because of my experiences and what I learned about me whilst going through the training at Impact. So from my perspective, why Impact? If you are looking for you would do yourself a favor if you want to find you to experience you when you go to Impact. I mean, does that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've done a lot of things
Yeah.
in my life. Hell, I've died and come back, you know. But there's nothing like the Impact trainings.
Ever.
And if you want to experience something different,
Yes.
free yourself, You know, it's for anybody and
Yes.
everybody who wants to experience life differently than they currently are.
If you want different results, if you're look, whoever's listening, if you're tickled pink with what your results are right now, if everything, then obviously impact training isn't for you. If you're
Actually,
oh,
that's not true.
that's
That's not true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I've seen all different types of people walk in, and some people look at them and say that person has it all put together, and that person has it all figured out, and that person has the house, that person has the
car,
marriage,
yeah,
that person has the job, a lot of times those people are the most hollow. They're the most shallow. I remember even just the other night I was watching the show. It's the Special Forces show where they have people go through different things like Special Forces training, and they see if they make it or not. And there was one guy on the show that he was a bachelorette, not bachelorette, bachelor.
He was a bachelor.
He was
yeah.
on the Bachelor,
Yeah.
the bachelorette. That's awesome. But he was very done all kinds of things, and he made a statement in the show which was very, very applicable. He said the things that have actually caused more fame and fortune for me in my life has caused me to be the most shallow.
So
And
there it is.
Yeah.
I thought, wow, thank you for your honesty. Because there's all of this stuff that's like, no, you've got to do this, you got to do that. And at least what I've experienced from people is that whenever someone really goes to such an extent for fame and fortune, the price to pay for that is they're selling themselves out. They're shutting a part of them down. They're walling themselves. They're doing something that's actually not allowing who they really are
To come through. Yeah.
It's who they really are is always. It never goes anywhere. It doesn't ever escape. It's always there, but that doesn't. It's not in the forefront anymore, and I see that all the time. So, I'm saying even people that I've got it all put together. I've got it all figured out. I'm there. I've made it. Please come to the impact trainings.
Because you can take those experiences and have conversations like this, because that's what I've been saying. That's why when I approached you in one of our breaks, and you're like, well, what are we going to talk about, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
this. We're going to talk about this because, for me, this is of the utmost of importance.
Yeah, and if you're out there and if you're in a position of influence,
Which I am.
please come to the impact trainings. Be there, because now I can promise you that you will find things about you that you've always known. It's not going to be anything new.
That's a pretty bold
promise you this
promise.
too. You're not going to find anything new about you, because you always know it. But it's at a level. It's at such a level, an authentic level, and you'll know it. You'll know it when it happens, and when you start to embrace that, and you then take that, as I said earlier, what Hans said, to take that and go out and live it, and you go out into your life, and you start operating in your life from that space.
Yeah. Yep.
Imagine what your world will look like then.
And the people around you's world as well.
Bingo.
Every single person we come in contact with.
So that's why I'm saying, if you're in a position of influence, I'm going to say it, get your ass in the training. Get in the training.
I can, look, oh, and by the way, you both get to know something. I told Sarah, there isn't many of us out there. You're about to meet two men,
Oh yeah, and I said I'm aware.
right? We are few and far between.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this. The training at Impact is made to reveal kings and queens, because that's what we all are. We all have crowns on our heads. We just don't know that they're there. We don't.
I'll tell you, I remember on a Saturday of a training. Oh my gosh. And I say this because I'm very blessed that I can see things. I don't see with my physical eyes.
You feel these things. Yeah.
I know it's not my physical eyes that see it. But I see, if you want to call it energy or whatever, but there's things that happen. And I remember this one time, this one guy, he was sharing, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, there it is. And I was just looking, and he had his crown on.
You could see the crown.
Oh my gosh, it's like, there it is. And I looked at the staff, I said, do you see that? They're like looking at me like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, no, it's right. He's got his crown on. I mean, whoa. Thank you for sharing. I mean, it was like, that was one of those moments. But it didn't happen until we were a little ways along in the training, and he had gone through the process, and he had done his work. He had gone to work on himself. He had let go of so much that was not him, that he had identified as him, and also other things that he had, grabbed a hold of that others had told him, and just all of that.
That would be called limiting beliefs. Yes.
Yeah. He had gone through that process, and again, that's the process of the training. It's just a process.
Let go.
But he did that, and he let go of it, and then to see him standing there, owning
in his full glory,
owning
with his crown.
that, owning that, I was like, wow.
I was there that day. I volunteer.
yeah.
I volunteer. I go on staff.
So just for everybody,
but when Justin said, he turned to us and said, "Do you see it?" And I didn't see it, but I said, "No, but I can feel it."
Yeah.
I could
well,
feel
energy. One of the things that I learned about impact, but I learned, I don't know if this was in Summit or I think it was in, I don't even know, but when we communicate with each other, we do it 3 different ways. Verbally, which is about 7%, body language, which is about 43%, and a whopping, and I'm going to say higher than 50% is energy. And energy cannot lie.
Yeah.
The energy is real.
Okay, I have a question about that.
Okay.
Because I communicate with sound, but it's not the words. I mean, the words, I care about words. I'm a writer, but the sound, like, of a person's voice, not the words that they're saying, but the sound and the resonance and where it's coming from in their body, because you can hear where it's coming from this way.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying 7%, da-da-da. Like, where does that in those percentages account for? Do you know what I'm saying?
I think it's in the 50% of the energy.
Well, I know there's a lot based on my own experience, and I always like to go back to my experience because that's what I know.
Right.
There have been times when I've experienced individuals in the training, and it was all 100% energy. They could be sitting there not saying a single word.
Yeah.
Which is why you one day say to me, Tony, what are you experiencing? I wasn't saying anything to you. Not a word.
Tony was sitting over there going,
I was in my
somebody
own
ask me, somebody ask me.
No, I wasn't saying that.
No, you weren't, but you were.
No.
But I can tell you this though. This happens so many times that I'll just be in the process working with someone, and all of a sudden, I'll just get this message, turn around.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I turn around.
Which is, I guarantee that.
And boom.
And
then I just lock eyes, and that's it.
What are you experiencing right now? I don't remember your exact words, but you were talking to someone else, Justin.
Yeah, it happens.
And they were talking to you. You were having a conversation with this person, and you weren't looking at me.
That's not confusing to me, though.
It's not confusing to me either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's.
Yeah. Like, can't you?
That is energy. I think our.
But that's the thing though, is that you already have that, and sometimes we call it gifts or some. We talk about this in the LMT trainings, the clair. People have they have different clairs, different ways of communicating and seeing and everything, and you have that sense of you. where you can pick up on that energy, and it's a very, very clear energy communication to you, and you just know it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't. I mean, I'm not going to speak for you, but I would venture to say that you're, for you,
Yeah.
that form of communication probably is a very high percentage for you
Yeah.
that you go by, based on picking up on somebody. That's just you. That's the way you're operating. That's what you brought.
That's how life works.
I mean,
That's what I mean. I and this is an interesting side note. When we were coordinating the podcast, and Sarah reached out and she's talking to me, and I was working at home that day and I had music on. It was just on a AI playlist, just serve up based on what I.
Just a coincidence.
At one of those no accident moments,
yeah.
and so and I'm talking, and I didn't even realize Sarah could hear the music in the background.
I hear everything.
But as you share this, I'm like, well, no wonder you said, "Wow, that's Janis Joplin, baby
Little Girl Blue."
Yeah. And I didn't have any control over that. No one had any control over that, but it was meaningful to you, and I got to witness the experience you were having on the phone. Like, my dad dedicated that song to me, I believe is what you told me. And I thought, this is what happens in life, but this is what happens specifically in the context of the impact trainings, is that context is set. And it doesn't matter who comes in from what background. People get what they came to get, and it's different for me or you or anybody, but people get. It's difficult to even put a word on it, but they remember, they discover, they experience something that shifts within their consciousness and within their soul. It was always there. They remember it. Yeah.
The value of the dedicated container is that you can just focus better. Like there's always all this stuff going on, but the dedicated container lets what was always there become apparent or seen or heard, and so it can seem like magic, and I guess it is in a way.
I love that word, magic. Yeah.
It's actually more of just the natural order.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not really magic at all. It's really
that's why I say it
works,
could be,
right?
but I think for those who understand magic a little more, they're like, no, this is just the way that it is. It just appears as magic to you because you don't see how it is.
Yeah.
But this is just how it is.
There's a commercial that used to be this coming to me right now. That this is perfect. It's a commercial for Claritin, and in the commercial, you're looking at the screen and everything on the screen is blurry. Right? There's clear, and you're looking at the vision, and then you hear a psh, and when it goes psh, there's impact. Well, Claritin clear. But that's where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
We're walking around. The screen is kind of blurry. There's clear, whoosh, and then there's impact clear.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the prayer that we said today? That was the words. You said, is there anything you want to add to the prayer? And I said, please let us have clear eyes. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Clarity.
So cool.
Yeah.
There it is for me.
No
For
accidents.
me personally, right? There are no. I mean, we offered a prayer. I mean, I'm driving in. Actually, I'm looking. We're offering a prayer because I'm going to the governor's office.
He was scared.
I'm walking in. I'm about to take on some folks that. Right, and so I'm going to the governor. I'm going to my senators. I'm going to my representatives. I'm going to these people, right, that have a lot of influence. And I'm like, and we said it at the same time. Let's have a prayer.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped in my hallway. And I was just standing there like this. It's
so
the only time on the phone that I've ever been fully focused while talking to Tony.
Yeah.
Usually I'm like making
Sarah,
pancakes
put this
and like
crap down. I mean, dang it, stop doing this.
But he said, you want to pray? And I said, yes, I will stop everything.
And the thing is, our prayers are heard.
Mm-hmm.
Our prayers are answered. Right? And it's my testimony that my prayers were answered when I was introduced to Impact.
Mm-hmm.
That's an absolute fact for me. Impact is an answered prayer to me because of my experiences at Impact. I now own Beacon Recovery,
Yep.
right?
I didn't know that.
Oh, listen, because of my experiences with an Impact, not only do I own Beacon Recovery, I'm expanding Beacon Recovery, and we are able to influence in whatever way because of my position. If you are, whoever are listening to me, if you are looking for a different outcome, which I'm gonna be, well, I don't know, 100% of you, right? You owe it to yourself. Pick up the phone. By the way, I don't know. Is there? Do you know the number to Impact? Does anybody? Or you know what? Just Google
We
it.
got Google.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you don't
Google.
have to. Yeah,
Impact.
you can find it.
Impact
You know,
training.
last time I looked, most people have some kind of electronic device they carry with themselves most of the
Yeah.
time. So
Do yourself a favor and at least pick up the phone, and you know what? Come out on a Wednesday night. Every Wednesday night, it's not going to cost you one red penny, right? And worth every minute of your time to come out and listen to the folks share with whoever you are, right? I think it's a sharpening your
yeah,
tools.
call it tool sharpening night.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
It's Wednesday nights. I believe it starts at what, 7:30. I don't even know. But once again, give us a call. Give us. We're all one big happy family over there. I don't work for Impact. I don't. I do work for people, and this is for people, right?
Yeah.
Men are that they might have joy,
Yep.
and there it is.
Yeah. You know, you brought up not working for Impact. Of course, you know, I'm a trainer. Been with Impact for over 30 years. It's never been me working for Impact. Have I been paid some money? Yeah. Has it been an extraordinary amount of money? No, it hasn't.
Well, you're going to get paid. You get paid regularly, actually.
Well, the experience of it and going through and watching what happens is,
Payment.
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no money that can ever pay for that. But quite honestly, I mean, like yourself, and I know Jeff and Sarah, possibly if you end up choosing to go, it's something I know for myself. When I was introduced, when I first heard it, I mean, this person told me a couple of words, and I'm like, okay, I'm going. When is it? What does it cost? You know? And she's like, don't you want me to tell you about it? I'm like, sure, you can, but
I'm still going.
I'm going. So,
Yeah.
and I just knew I was in, and the way that it's all unraveled since then, and being a part of it all these years, and so I've never felt like to me that I'm working for Impact. It's always been part of my life, and will always be part of my life, a huge part of my life. But I do it because I know what the training is about, and I know what it's there for.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I do it. If it was for the money, I'm underpaid for what I do.
Well, and
Okay, but I'm just saying that just in a business, context.
in a business
that's-
context, speaking of money,
Yeah,
right? Knowing what I know, right, and I know you will say the same thing, and I talked to another Impact grad about this last night. Whatever Impact costs, what Impact has provided for me, you guys, you could have had more. You folks at Impact, I would have paid. I really
you
would
could
have.
put a couple zeros behind what's charged,
seriously,
and it would still
you
work.
would have. You could have. I
So-
would have paid double.
Yeah,
I would have. That's a true statement because of what it has shown me.
yeah,
Right, and it's the easy button. It's so incredibly easy. Whoosh, right, impact clear. There it is.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I think we can leave it at that. Right.
Yeah, I think so. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
thank you.
you. Yeah,
What an
it was
honor.
wonderful.
Gratitude is the key to abundance, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I impact.
Yeah, thank you.
Really?
I'm grateful as well.
Yeah.
Very much so. Very grateful as well. It's been an incredible journey, and looking forward to the journey continuing.
Next wave.
Yeah.
When you leave Harvey, Justin and Jeff, when you go out the Harvey door,
Yeah.
I'm going to share with you that your possibilities are infinite.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Okay.
I mean, what's cool too is the relationships. I mean, who'd have guessed we'd be
Yeah.
sitting in a bus meeting Sarah, and
Yeah.
we've all
Yeah.
come from drastic, different walks
Sure.
of life, kind of,
Yeah.
and yet we're far more the same than we are different, no matter what. our
Harvey has his
experiences are.
own. Harvey is alive, and he has his own stuff that he's getting done.
Okay.
And this is
He's a
evidence
work in
of
progress.
that. Yeah.
Harvey's a great vibe, man.
Yeah,
This
I
is-
know. Isn't he great?
This is a great vibe.
This is great.
All right.
For the first time in 40 years, Impact has a special offer. During the month of February only, for their Quest training. Call Beacon Recovery today for details and to schedule a consultation with Tony Poole. 435-239-8768. That's 435-239-8768.